All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are tackling a huge, and I mean huge, idea. What if love isn't just some mushy feeling, but a measurable, creative energy? An energy that can actually scientifically build a more peaceful world. We're going to dig deep into the work of sociologist Pitirim Sorokin to see if we can unlock the science behind this incredible concept.
But first, let's start with a question that, I think we all grapple with. Why does conflict just feel so inevitable? From tiny little arguments to massive global wars, it feels like it's just part of the human deal. And honestly, why does hate sometimes seem so much louder, so much more powerful than love? This is the big puzzle we're going to try and solve together.
So before we can even talk about building peace, we have to understand the problem. According to Sorokin, there are these really powerful forces that are constantly driving us apart. What is the fundamental engine that drives all this human conflict?
Well, for Sorokin, it all comes down to this one powerful idea: tribal egoism. Now, what's so fascinating about this is that the root of conflict isn't always pure, simple hatred. No, it often starts with love, a really intense, powerful love and loyalty for our group, for our tribe. But here's the twist. That exact same loyalty can become the fuel for suspicion, for competition, and eventually for real antagonism towards anyone outside that circle. And if you just let that play out, it leads to a pretty dark place. Sorokin calls it a fiery wheel of natural existence. I mean, that's a heavy quote, right? It perfectly captures this default state of a world run by tribal egoism, this constant grinding struggle where every group is fighting every other group, a cycle that ultimately just leads to destruction for everyone. It's a sobering thought for sure, but it sets the stage perfectly for the radical solution he came up with.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, Sorokin didn't just leave us there in the dark. He offered a really powerful antidote. He made the case that love isn't just some passive emotion. It's an active, you can even say measurable, force. A superpower, really, with the ability to literally change the world. He actually called it a form of energy.
He called it love energy, and he defined it as this real, tangible power that actively unifies, integrates, and creates. And to make it scientific, he broke it down into 5 dimensions you could actually measure. Think of it like this. You've got intensity. That's its raw emotional power. Then extensity. How far does it reach? Just your family or all of humanity? Duration. Pretty simple. How long does it last? Purity. Is it totally selfless or are there selfish motives mixed in? And finally, adequacy. How well does it actually work? Is it effective in the real world?
Okay, I know what you're thinking. A unifying love energy sounds nice. It sounds fantastic, really. But does it actually have any power when faced with real-world violence and aggression? Can a feeling, a song, an act of kindness really stop a fist or a bullet? Well, Sorokin went out and gathered these incredible true stories that suggest the answer is a resounding yes.
Get this one. It's Berlin, 1945. Armed soldiers burst into a home. I mean, that's a situation that is just primed for violence. But instead of reacting with fear or aggression, the woman in the house starts playing the piano and singing. And in that moment, all that aggression it melts away. The soldiers, totally disarmed by this simple act of shared humanity, actually became her protectors.
Or how about this story? A community is facing down violent raiders, and their response? Not to pick up weapons, but to kneel down and pray for their enemies. The raiders were just stopped in their tracks. They were confronted with something they literally could not fight. The account says they sensed a superior, even if invisible power. See, this wasn't weakness. It was a demonstration of a totally different kind of strength, one that violence has no answer for.
And this one is maybe the most powerful of all. From the American Civil War, a man is facing a firing squad. And what does he do? He offers them forgiveness. In that ultimate moment of conflict, his act of pure, selfless love just completely shattered the chain of violence. The soldiers who were ordered to kill him, they just couldn't. They physically could not pull the triggers. They knew they were in the presence of something bigger than their orders.
Now, these stories are absolutely amazing, right? But they're not just about these huge, dramatic moments. Sorokin argued that this exact same conflict, this war between love and hate, is happening inside each and every one of us all the time. It's an inner battlefield.
You see, it all comes down to this fundamental tug-of-war inside our own minds. We all have this amazing capacity for in-group altruism, this deep, genuine love for our family, our friends, our team. But that very same instinct can flip on a dime into out-group egoism, a defensiveness or even hostility towards anyone we see as them. And it's a constant tension, a constant balancing act we're all managing. Sorokin's idea was that we're not just one single unified person. We're more like a collection of different and often conflicting egos. Think about it. Your family ego might demand a loyalty that totally clashes with your professional ego. Your national ego might be pushing you one way, while your ethical ego is pulling you in the complete opposite direction. The result? Our inner world is this constant battlefield of competing loyalties, which makes finding real peace of mind a serious challenge.
So if we're all wrestling with this stuff, both inside and out, what can we actually do about it? Well, the good news is Sorokin didn't just leave us with a diagnosis. He also gave us a tangible, practical toolkit for actively cultivating this love energy in our own lives. And the key here is that this isn't some vague instruction to just, be more loving. He laid out a set of really concrete techniques. First, consciously curate your social world, because the attitudes of the people around you are seriously contagious. Second, master the good deed, and we'll look at that one closer in just a second. And third, find your purpose by joining a creative cause that's bigger than yourself, that channels all your energy toward a common unifying goal.
So let's zoom in on that good deed technique. It sounds so simple, but its power is just transformative. There was this study at Sorokin's own research center at Harvard, where they had students perform simple, kind acts for someone they actively disliked. And the results? They were astounding. The very act of doing something good actually changed the feelings of the person doing it, which then changed the whole dynamic of the relationship. It literally turned hostility into friendship. It turns out our actions can actually lead our feelings. And all of this brings us to the final, and I think the most empowering, piece of the puzzle. It completely reframes our role in the world. We aren't just supposed to be passive recipients of love. We are all capable of becoming active producers of it. I just love this metaphor. Sorokin described a great altruist of history, people like Gandhi or St. Francis, as being like power stations, just endlessly generating this love energy that radiated out and influenced millions. But his point wasn't just for us to sit back and admire them. It was to say that every single one of us has the capacity to become our own smaller power station, generating this creative, unifying force in our own neighborhoods, our own families, our own lives. And this leads us to Sorokin's ultimate conclusion, a statement that feels just as true today as it did when he first wrote it. He says, pretty bluntly, that we can't fight our way to a better world. Cruelty, hatred, violence, they're simply the wrong tools for the job. He says the only way forward, the royal road to a world that's truly peaceful and just, is through the steady, consistent practice of this all-giving, creative love. So that leaves us with one final question. And this one isn't for Sorokin, it's for us, it's for you. It's easy to talk about these big, amazing ideas, but the real power is in the action, right? From the smallest good deed to the biggest creative cause. If you look at your own life, your own little corner of the world, what's one small way you can start generating this energy? How will you produce creative love today?